Throughout history, our image of dinosaurs has changed, with new fossil evidence being discovered. But most people in the public don't really know this. For years, people have often seen dinosaurs as large, monstrous lizards that roar and fight each other every day, forgetting that these were actually living, breathing animals that did other things than simply fight each other. So I, Derek Porter, am here to correct the mistakes of the past and present, to tell the history of specific dinosaurs and point out the accuracies and inaccuracies about these animals over time. Today on this episode of Inaccuratesaurus, we'll be looking at arguably the most famous dinosaur and my personal favorite, the tyrant lizard king, Tyrannosaurus rex. The first Tyrannosaurus rex skeleton was discovered in 1902 in Montana in what is known as the Hell Creek Formation, where many famous dinosaur species from the late Cretaceous hailed from. The fossil was discovered by Barnum Brown, who, 6 years later, discovered a more complete skeleton at Big Dry Creek. There, Brown used dynamite to blow away most of the rock and revealed what he called a magnificent specimen and named it AMNH 5027. Which can be viewed at the Hall of Saurian Dinosaurs at the American Natural History Museum. During the early 1900s, it was believed that many dinosaurs stood upright and dragged their tails on the ground, and T-Rex was no exception to this, and thus the skeleton was arranged in such a way. Another thing about T-Rex at the time was the number of fingers it had. It was believed that T-Rex had 3 fingers, like its cousin, Allosaurus, but as more specimens were being found with only 2 fingers, it became clear that the animal did not have 3 fingers. As years went by, more complete skeletons were being found, one of these skeletons being named Sue. Sue was first discovered in 1990 on the 12th of August by Suzanne Hendrickson, whom she was named after. At the time, Sue was the largest and oldest Tyrannosaurus skeleton to be found, and measured at a length of 42 feet and was at 28 years of age when she died. This has led paleontologists to believe that a T-Rex's lifespan was up to 30 years of age and grew to large sizes. Sue's skeleton also showed how difficult a T-Rex's life was. Sue and other Tyrannosaur skeletons show signs of healed bite marks and other injuries they've sustained in their lives. Like many apex predators of today, T-Rex was not invincible. During the time T-Rex lived, it shared its home with other dinosaurs such as Edmontosaurus, Triceratops, Ankylosaurus, Alamosaurus, and other T-Rexes. Bite marks on the many skulls of Tyrannosaurs indicate that conflict was a big part between members of the same species. These fights have been believed to be over territory or something rather darker. It is believed that Tyrannosaurs may have cannibalized each other. This would make sense, since a larger Rex may kill a smaller Rex to eliminate competition. Tyrannosaurus was quite a husky dinosaur in its life, unlike other theropods like Giganotosaurus, who were slim in build. T-Rex had quite a lot of body fat. Unlike what pop culture suggests, T-Rex was believed to only reach a maximum speed of 17 miles per hour. This, of course, makes sense when the animals it ate were also quite large and not very fast. As we all should know, Tyrannosaurus rex lived during the late Cretaceous, with the majority of Tyrannosaurus fossils being found in the Hell Creek Formation, which was believed to be a swampy marshland that is now a landscape in Montana. An interesting theory about T-Rex is that many believe that they lived in social groups, like its cousin, Daspletosaurus, but this is heavily debated. T-Rex ruled as the apex predator, but not even being the king of the dinosaurs could save it from extinction. 65 million years ago, an asteroid collided into the Earth in the Yucatan Peninsula, wiping out almost 90% of all life. Though many of the dinosaurs didn't die from the initial impact, they most likely would have died during the aftermath. With its prey having disappeared and its habitat destroyed, the tyrant lizard king soon fell to extinction. But its fossils would see the light of day in museums and mostly in pop culture. Throughout pop culture, many dinosaurs have been popularized, with T-Rex being the most popular of them all. T-Rex has been the dinosaur most people use as the big bad carnivore in movies, books, and TV shows. The most famous piece of pop culture T-Rex has starred in is arguably the most iconic movie franchise, Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is praised around the world for its great cast, story, and special effects that no one had ever seen before, with the CGI still holding up to this day. One of the most infamous dinosaurs in the franchise is the T-Rex.
Being right all the time.
This animal has appeared in 5 films and is set to reappear in the 6th and final installment of the film franchise. The Rex became so popular, fans referred to the main Tyrannosaurus Rex of the series as Rexy. As amazing as it is, seeing the animal on screen terrorizing and eating people, there are many things inaccurate about it. First off, Dr. Alan Grant, played by Sam Neill, says that a T-Rex's vision is based on movement.
Nobody move a muscle.
But this isn't true. If you pay attention to the skull of a T-Rex, then you may notice that where its eyes would have been, they will have been facing forward, like our eyes, or a dog's eyes, or like the eyes of many predatory animals. This helps a predator judge the distance between them and their prey. T-Rex was no exception, and it's believed that Tyrannosaurus Rex had the best eyesight of any dinosaur to date. Second is the speed of which it runs. As stated before, T-Rex could only run at 17 miles per hour, but in the films, John Hammond, played by the late Richard Attenborough, says that they clocked the T-Rex at 32 miles per hour.
Well, we clocked the T-Rex at 32 miles an hour.
That's a whopping 15-mile difference. Third is the head shape. The Rex in the film has prominent ridges above its eyes and an exaggerated ridge over its nose, which the animal lacked in real life. The fourth and final point is the wrists. In the movies, all of the theropods have pronated wrists facing back, while in reality, the animal's wrists would have been facing inwards in a sort of clapping motion. T-Rex has also starred in famous documentaries, the most popular one being Walking with Dinosaurs. A documentary that takes the audience back in time through several different eras of the dinosaurs, using special practical effects and CGI to bring these prehistoric creatures to life. The T-Rex makes its appearance in episode 6, Death of a Dynasty, which showcases a female T-Rex looking after her young, but is ultimately killed due to her having her ribs broken by an ankylosaur and dies from her injuries. The design for the Rex is quite bad. For starters, the head shape doesn't necessarily fit the actual skull of the animal from certain perspectives, and the tail is very short and flimsy. Large theropod dinosaurs like T-Rex use their tails to balance themselves. If the animal had a short tail, it would certainly topple over. It's not just movies and TV shows that get the accuracy of the T-Rex wrong. Even video games can get things wrong. Take the T-Rex from the game Saurian. Saurian is a game that takes place in the Hell Creek Formation, where the player can play as 4 playable dinosaurs: Dakotaraptor, Pachycephalosaurus, Triceratops, and Tyrannosaurus Rex. A long while back, the model of the Rex was covered in feathers. This was quite controversial amongst fans of the animal and paleontologists. Some suggested that T-Rex's ancestors, such as Guanlong, Dilong, and Eutyrannus had feathers, then T-Rex may have had feathers. Others believe that T-Rex may have had feathers when it was a baby and gradually lost them as it got older. These arguments lasted until paleontologists found scale impressions of the T-Rex and its relatives like Daspletosaurus and Albertosaurus. In conclusion, until evidence suggests otherwise, it is believed that T-Rex did not have feathers. In regards to these changes, the developers have changed the design of their T-Rex model to be as accurate as it can be. Up next, after our commercial break, we'll be talking about the subject of whether T-Rex had lips and the ridiculing of its arms. Now, when we think of lips on dinosaurs, I'm not talking about lips like human lips, but lips that many reptiles have. This is referring to the soft tissue covering the teeth of a lizard. Now, not all reptiles have these, mainly crocodilians like crocodiles, alligators, and gharials, etc. It's debated whether or not T-Rex had this same covering or its teeth were simply exposed and didn't have any covering. In the early 20th century, paleo artists would draw dinosaurs very lizard-like with their teeth covered up. But in recent years, artists have been drawing theropods with their teeth exposed, showing the deadly weaponry these animals possess. A main contender against the idea of lips is the phylogenetic bracket. This is what paleontologists use to determine what may have been present on an extinct animal by looking at their modern-day relatives, in this case, birds and crocodilians. Now, of course, if we think about it, birds don't have lips. Instead, they have beaks. And crocodilians don't have lips either. Another argument is that the teeth of many theropods were just too big to be covered up. This is backed up by the amount of labial foramina in the skull. Labial foramina are small holes that allow nerves and blood vessels to go from the skull to any soft tissue around the jaws. With some research, it is believed that since dinosaurs and crocodilians had more foramina, they lacked any tooth coverage, while reptiles like lizards have less foramina, and they have tooth coverage. Although these arguments do hold up, they don't hold up rather well. The phylogenetic bracket isn't well held since crocodilians, birds, and dinosaurs have different jaw anatomy. Another reason is that when you look at the teeth of a crocodile, you may notice that their teeth jut out and interlock with each other because there is no coverage to stop them, whereas Tyrannosaurus have their teeth on the upper jaw in line with the ones on the bottom. And as for the argument that their teeth were too big, doesn't hold up quite well either, since in many living animals, the mouth doesn't fully close and is slightly open even when the jaws look closed, leaving room for the teeth inside. And finally, for the foramina, the skin plays a major role when it comes to forming the teeth in crocodilians, and it is unlikely that T-Rex had this present. Of course, does this mean that T-Rex had lips? No, but it doesn't disprove the idea either. Now, if you think T-Rex with lips is a little funny, wait till you hear about its arms. Despite T-Rex being one of the largest land predators, one thing that some people point out are how small its arms are. Now, they may seem small, but its arms are actually 3 feet long. That's longer than the average human arm, which is about 2 feet. Now, T-Rex's arms aren't completely useless, but one thing they weren't used for is hunting. I mean, why would you use such little arms when you have a massive head with bone-crushing teeth? However, they may have not been completely useless. One theory suggests that T-Rex may have used its arms during mating, where the male would use his arms to grab the feet onto the female. Another theory suggests that they may have helped the animal get up. After all, paleontologists believe that T-Rex may have had some muscular arms, or they simply used their arms to scratch their bellies after eating. But until new evidence is found, we may never know. For 119 years, T-Rex has remained as an iconic dinosaur to both the general public and paleontologists and dinosaur enthusiasts alike, and probably will for years to come. And perhaps someday there may come a dinosaur that becomes more famous than T-Rex. I am Derek Porter, and thank you for joining me on this episode of Inaccuratesaurus.